Crowd are buzzing. Can Laois hold on and cause the biggest upset in hurling, not just this year, but for many, many years? Standing over the ball is Paul Ryan, outside his own 45, near to the 65. Over the ball! John Morgan! A goal! The shock of the year! What a shock! The crowd come onto the field! Oh my God, that's history!
It sure is. That's the Midlands 103 commentary. They enjoyed it, as you might imagine. Jack Nolan and Shane Stapleton on commentary. And very happy to say Eddie Brennan is taking a call. Hi, Eddie.
Good evening, Joe. How things?
Very good. Better for you, I reckon.
Yeah, yeah, we're in good order. It's all good. Yeah, sure. Look, it's just soaking in, I suppose, all the more. And I suppose you're only even this morning just catching up on the size of the scale of the story, because the whole thing seems to have just went mad yesterday evening, and it's just seeing how, I suppose even around Portlaoise and the county of Laois, it's just to see, I suppose, the reaction that it's got, and it's hugely positive, and it's just sinking in that little bit more, how big the achievement was.
I'd say your phone has been hopping. Who's been in touch?
Everyone. Everyone and anyone. Quinny was on, and even, there's loads of, I suppose, people from at home in the club and family and friends and stuff, and even someone like Shane Lowry took time to give me a text and say well done on it. So it's been very, very, I suppose, far-reaching really. But I suppose most of all, it's just even seeing the kick the players had got out of it yesterday evening, it was just for guys that maybe were unsure about things and where they sit in the hurling world, to see them go out and perform like they did yesterday is just, for me, evidence of the message that we're trying to instill in them, that they're able to mix it with anyone when they set their mind to it. And we enjoyed yesterday, even just with a couple of hours together, the whole lot of it, and that was really, really enjoyable.
I'm sure you did. Does Brian Cody send you a WhatsApp?
No, I'd say Brian is busy plotting and planning.
He's
busy plotting and planning Cork's downfall on Sunday. So yeah. Look, it's brilliant. It's just I suppose really just the satisfaction of it, and I said in some of the interviews I done after yesterday, even just the satisfaction I took from it was seeing the guys go out and perform like they can, and that's what. I suppose that's your job really, to manage and get a team right. And I have to say to the lads, Niall, Tommy and Fran, look, we got things right yesterday, and the players executed really, really well.
When you talk about the context, it's certainly, 1985 is the last big Laois win in anything close to this stratosphere. People are talking about the semi-final win over Wexford. It's the first All-Ireland quarter-final since Galway in 1979. And then when you think, this time last year, Christy Ring was being flirted with a little bit. 2 years ago, Dublin, and it wasn't a Dublin side playing as well as they are now. They beat Laois by 16 points in the qualifiers. This is the kind of context you have to put it into. It's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah, it is, from the point of view of, look, I suppose, you're constantly reflecting and looking back, and you kind of go, wow, they were so close to possibly going into Christy Ring last year, and you kind of go, in 12 months they've turned it around. But I suppose that's the big thing for me, is that we set aside a very, very simple plan on how we were going to go about it, and mapped it out for the boys, and to be fair to the players, they've soaked it up really, and that's all you can ask for. And there was, I said in a lot of places yesterday too, I would never ever doubt their hurling ability and skill wise, and it was just down to some of the fundamentals, I suppose, having a bit of pride in what they're about and where they're from. And we said, look, it's not going to be an easy road, because maybe the jersey wasn't looked at with enough of respect, maybe even within the county, and I think they've definitely shown, everybody that they're very, very proud Laoismen, and they went out and performed really well. But it's the context of that, you just go, wow, it's up there, with some history, and just to see even the emotion and what it meant to family and friends of those players and their clubmates to come in on the pitch.
Well, the atmosphere at the game was extraordinary. It's a real pity it wasn't live on television. But even at half-time, we had Dahi Regan on the radio for us yesterday doing updates, and he said at half-time that as the Laois players ran in to the dressing room, a load of fans would kind of rush down from seats to almost applaud them into the dressing room and kind of fist bump them into the dressing room. They were 5 points up at that stage. like you got a sense from early on there was real emotion about this game. Like your memory of the scenes on the pitch at full time, because I saw you running around not quite sure what to do with yourself.
Yeah, I suppose it's a weird one in that sense, but firstly, like Tommy Fitz would have, spoken to the lads on Friday evening when we were, doing our few bits and pieces and team and stuff, and Tommy referenced that. He said at half time, he said you'll have the crowd will come down and clap you in off that pitch, and we just make sure, he said, we're in a good position, and he said that'll carry us, like, and it was just brilliant to see that, like, and you're kind of, I suppose, in the middle of that, you're trying to keep your focus and saying, right, where do we need it? And the big thing for me yesterday was we were worried about our legs, and we were kind of saying, right, our subs are going to have to come fairly quick. And then when we went to actually put on a few subs, we're going, well, who do we take off? Because the boys were working really hard on the pitch. So I suppose we held off on that for a little while until we really, really needed them. And just even as you said there, even after the match, it's a weird one because, you just wanted to get to the players more than anything else. But you also, I suppose I enjoy it to a point, standing back from it all and taking it in and just seeing, it's all for the players to soak that up because, like I said, they were on the pitch and a lot of them just even talking afterwards said, look, they've never experienced that in their life, and you just go, well, just get more of it. There's more out there if you want it,
Yeah. It is wonderful for the players to get, as you said, a bit of recognition as well. Enda Rowland's save, for instance, yesterday. I'm reliably told by people in the know he's one of the best goalkeepers in the country. But I don't remember really seeing Enda Rowland play that much before, or someone like Ross King who got a bit of a hurl into the mouth and I think he had ruined his teeth and his lip, and he was almost walking away from the game, and between one thing and another you kind of coaxed him back. Players like that getting this kind of limelight and this kind of attention and these kind of days, absolutely brilliant, and everybody loves to see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and like you said earlier, Joe, it is a pity that it wasn't televised because I felt it was teed up to be a cracker whatever way it rolled. If I felt that there was a performance in it, and it was going to be a case of getting a spark, and the spark was the goal really that drove us, that really drove the lads on. And I'm not saying that it may not have happened without that goal. The boys were in a really good place and they were chomping hard at everything. But it is good for them, like to be getting that little bit of exposure. To get up this morning and see them splashed all over the front of the papers, like it's a hugely important thing. And you say the bounce that you get out of that, and it's you see it happening in other places. You look at what's the positive story in Limerick last year and what that means from, and I spoke about games developments within a county. You're all those teenage kids, 7 and 8 year olds being able to get onto the pitch and see them guys up close. The boys don't realise probably the importance of that and what it means, and for them even to be looked at now in a different maybe perspective within their own county, that they're the boys that took out Dublin out of the championship, and that's something that they'll carry with them for a long, long time.
When you talk about the Friday meeting, I saw a few quotes about this. It's a strange week. Obviously, Joe McDonald ate a massive high, and when you have massive highs come the lows afterwards. It's just the nature of life and our makeup and our chemistry. So I'm sure there was a flatness about kind of Tuesday morning on. So what was it about the meeting on Friday that kind of made you think, we're in a good place here? Because I've heard you say that a few times.
Yeah, I suppose that was the big challenge for us. Really, was that it was probably a less is more maybe approach was adopted early in the week. That we left them alone and we just said, look lads, we had our schedule met out anyway, that we were back training Tuesday night, and the lads came back in and there was a bit of a blowout. And I suppose our consideration then was, how much do we prod them, how much do we push them, or how much do we try trigger the psychological build up then, because there is a huge come down and release from what happened to the boys last Sunday. And I thought you would know that well from playing days with Kilkenny, I'm sure. After all Ireland finals, it's massive, Joe. The come down, and to be able to enjoy that come down, but very, very quickly they had to get their tune them into what was coming on Sunday. And I think the reason probably why myself and Niall went off on Monday and left the players to it as such was we wanted to get our game faces on, because we had to start plotting and planning what we were going to do on Sunday. And to a man, they came in Tuesday night and we blew out we cleaned out the filters anyway and blew it out, and we trained Wednesday and we were still at that point we were unsure. I knew what they were capable of, But it was really when we went through it, a bit of tactics, we went through the team, and then we, as I always do, it's over to the players, and they 2 or 3 of them spoke, and as I said earlier on, my assessment of it was that what was spoken was genuine. It felt right. It hit the right tone. There was no waffle. There was no talking for the sake of it. And it just really set the mood, and we were clear in what we wanted the guys to do, and they just embraced that. And I mean, as I said, I rang Niall afterwards on the way up, and I said, Jesus, I think we're right. And I felt you feel a vibe sometimes, and it just felt good. And even Sunday morning when they came in, like, there was no nervousness about them, and I'm sure there was deep down, but they just had a good focus about them, and they were nicely relaxed as well,
Jeez, it's funny the thought of you and Niall Corcoran, all the time you spend together. Like, even you're at this meeting and then 2 minutes later you're ringing him in the car, like really in each other's pockets more than you and your family, I'd say, half the time.
Yeah, I suppose the missus is starting to get worried about me. All right, you're, and that's what I suppose team sport is about. You're with lads. A lot of the time you spend so much time in each other's company, and I suppose as a management team you do a little bit more because you have a lot of things to consider. But it was mad even coming over, and you just, because I suppose I was flying down the road back to Kilkenny kind of buzzing on the back of it, and it was just more that, well, I wasn't the only one that felt that, was I? And that was it more than that. Nelson, he said, I think we're right, because I suppose even Niall too, and it's been tough on him as well. Like, he's ultra dedicated. He is so meticulous in what he does, and he takes his position so seriously. And it was a tough week on him, I'd imagine, because he's going up against, his club mates, he's going up against people that he has played with. And that's not easy, but to a man, there was no question what he wanted, and I think he just wanted the best for the players and wanted the players to go out and like we all do, perform like they can. And
it would have been very easy for Joe McDonald to satisfy everybody and for that to be a really good season. So I'm wondering what angle you use to try and stoke a bit of competitive juice in the players. Like, it struck me, and I heard one of your players say it on radio afterwards, and it struck me as a good point, that in reality, not to put limits on next season, but in reality, this was a really good chance to get to a quarter-final, because round robin next year will be very, very tough. And that is a fair point. So that struck me as a really good incentive for them. Equally, home crowd, you don't want to let people down. What bits did you use to try and prod them when the time came?
I suppose we just looked at it, and it was, even, to be honest, Joe, it was some of the players offered it up and said that, on Wednesday night, like, they spoke of an opportunity of a lifetime. Like, they said, this is an opportunity to have a cut off some of the one of the top level teams, and they said, like, to see where we are, and they said in front of our own crowd, and to be fair, what they said, on Wednesday night as well, it wasn't about wanting to go out and do themselves justice, and they really set the ambition of beating them. And I think what maybe ignited that was the fact that we looked at the matches we played Dublin in the National League. We went to Parnell Park and dominated a match for large periods of that game, and just ultimately fell short. So they said to the boys, your hurling ability is on a par, if not every bit as good as what Dublin have, maybe even better with in some places, and it was just all going to be about the heads. And I just said to the lads, even the big thing for me I was concerned was the fatigue side of it, that when the system is starting to run on empty. But to be fair to them, there was a few of them that just wouldn't come off. And that was the reality. We were trying to identify who needs to be replaced or who needs a break, and we kind of rotated lads in and out as well, and that helped as well for guys that put in a big shift last weekend. And to be honest, Joe, look, on the kind of poking them up a little bit, they kind of set their standards themselves, really, and it was all about, we can do something here, lads. We really, really can, and we have to believe in that. Like, and that was it in a nutshell, really, because it's just go out and perform.
You must be happy with how you handled the week, because you're still a young manager, and how do you deal with the Joe McDonald thing when you've got this game 6 days later, 7 days later, as unfair as that is? That's the schedule that the draw dealt you. because it's funny, the whole country, we're all bloody so obsessed with drink. Everyone was like, so how much in the sauce did they go? Like, how many, did you go again Monday? Like, what was the session like? This is all anyone wants to bloody know. How many pints did you have? But it's a genuine concern, because you want to let them enjoy it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't want to be the guy in the dressing room on Sunday who says, lads, no drinks tonight, we'll go for a pool session tomorrow, and you can celebrate the Joe McDonald in 2 weeks, because the energy's gone out of it then.
Yeah, and momentum is gone. It's the here and now, and without doubt, they had to go and experience that. And like, for me, the one thing that, you're in your head, you're going, right, you're looking at time slots and you're going, right, how do we get all, like, 2 days now of a few pints to get that out of the system, to get that fully flushed, and the hot weather, getting them hydrate and getting them back up. But
I'd say a few takeaways as well. Like, I wouldn't say anything was good about it.
No, and it's even, I suppose, look, I agree definitely on that point, and I said this as much yesterday evening, tomorrow, and on the radio, I said, like, I would have a strong opinion on the merits of this match. I think it's the rationale behind it beggars belief, really, and that's not. It would be very easy for me to say that if we had got beaten yesterday. Yeah. But I stick strong with that opinion. And yes, look, we've bucked a trend that was probably seen as virtually impossible up to it happening. But I just think just during the week with it, like, I mean, we kind of. We took the hands off a little bit and we left it to the boys, and then they went and enjoyed it. But to a man, look, they came in Tuesday night, and not one of them groans, not one of them laid up or didn't train or anything like that. I mean, there was a few little knocks and bangs, which you always have for the final, and it was just a case of, right, look, it was a massive challenge, and I spent the whole week nearly up early in the mornings, kind of going, right, how do we get through this, and how do we get them? And you're so conscious of hitting the right note without getting too emotionally charged, because they're going in front of their own people, and there was that aspect as well.
It is very tough in Westmead. In some ways, I mean, look, results dictate how we look at things, but tough enough for you to come from a major high and play again. Like, doubly tough to come from a massive low and get yourself up again.
Yeah, I think, I said it yesterday evening as well. I have so much time for those Westmead boys. I know a lot of them, and I just said, fair play to them. Just fair play to them for facing into that, because I think I possibly would have took a different view on it if you're in their shoes, and I think you'd have to say you'd definitely forgive them if they told the fixtures, saying, listen, lads, you can have that match, it's okay. We don't need that right now, and I just think it's maybe to be fair, a testament of the calibre of guy that's in that Westmead dressing room, because to pick themselves up from the lowest of a low on a sporting context and know that that's what's facing you on Sunday, and to go out and just throw themselves into it, I think it's just massive admiration. I really don't know how we'd have faced into that, because I said players and the bitter disappointment that comes with 7 or 8, 9 months of hard work going down the drain and falling short on a big day. So
you're in no doubt this business of Joe McDonald followed 6-7 days later by a massive game like this, that can't continue.
No, I think, and I kind of said as much the other day, and as I said, it'd be very easy for me to ignore that, having done what we done yesterday, but I would stick very strongly with that, and I'd be calling on to remove it straight away. I don't know what competition across any sport and organisation where you have your final showpiece of the year, and then you turn around and pit the winners and losers back into another match against much stronger opposition. I'd love to know what the thinking was behind whoever it was sat down and thought this would be a good idea, because you're saying on one hand to them, we want to promote you, we want to give you platform, we want to give you recognition, and the Joe McDonald does that. But to turn around and say that, it's almost like a little slap down, in case you're getting ideas about yourself.
Yeah. And maybe something the GPA would want to have a think about as well, because it's not fair on the players.
You're just hoping that, look, a little bit of, I think, common sense prevails. And look, I'm sure possibly someone thought with good merit that, with good intention, this seems like a good idea. But I think when you rethink it and actually strip it down and look at what it is, you're saying, hold on now, what are we asking players to do? It's just not a runner going forward for me.
Another one, and look, I guess there's an off-season to chat about this, but just a quick thought from you on it. The formatting of the Leinster Championship, and people have looked at what Laois have done, and you'd have a good steer, obviously, on the strength of hurling around the country. Are we going to have to look at reformatting the Leinster Championship soon? Like, you have the Dublin footballers beating lots of teams by 18, 20 points, but they still get their shot at Dublin. Hurling now has fairly settled into a pretty elite standard. And, I'll hold my hands up as a neutral looking on. It's great because you get the very top teams going against each other in the round robin, and it's brilliant. So there is that appeal to it, there's no doubt. But it's hard not to look at Laois and Offaly and Westmead and think, should they not be in the Leinster Championship?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's good arguments to be made for it there, and I think what you ultimately look at, and I said this last week, is that the Joe McDonald, with the height of respect to the competition and the man himself, you're saying, I think he would probably want that this is a stepping stone to get teams up to a higher level, and if that means that, well, the competition fades away when they graduate and they can sustain being involved at a top tier level, you'd say, well, that's what its purpose is probably doing. It was a stepping stone to give teams fair competition, and then you're looking at saying, right, what can be done to help those teams get up to that level? Like you'd say, would a Leinster Championship next year with us and Carlo in there in the mix as well be really interesting, because I suppose the more you play at that level, the better you'll get. And then obviously, look, what you don't want is these lopsided matches, but I think you support the teams and say, look, that's our goal. Our goal is to get an 8-team or a 9-team Leinster Championship, and that'd be fantastic. So
I guess a final thought or two. You go from Joe McDonald into yesterday, and now you slingshot back to Croke Park, 4 o'clock, Tipperary Laois. Kilkenny Cork is the curtain raiser. It's an amazing kind of set of circumstances. So I guess this is another week where fatigue and trying to get the mood music right is all important. How are you feeling ahead of it? What are your thoughts?
Yes, we're just getting your heads tuned into that now. Like, you're just looking at planning out the day, and planning out the logistics of it as well, and trying to kind of get all that stuff ready, because that's something that you kind of go, well, training is separate what we do in training, and look, this week there's not much you can do in a 6 or 7 day turnaround other than get fresh and get right and just keep sharp. And because look, the weather is an aspect of that, and look, you're going to be playing against a Tipperary team that's very fresh, but we're nicely sharp as well, so that's a huge positive going into it. And look, again, we're up against it, but as the boys have said themselves as well, like, it's a massive opportunity to have a go. And like I said, you mentioned it there, Joe, about going into getting back to Croke Park in a fortnight in a massive occasion, and it's going to be a huge crowd, and you just go to players like, this is what you want, this is what you play the game.